these whole race protests are quite extraordinary. They're bizarre. It's like a pack of totalitarians have run amok. Now, there's been the burning and the looting, of course, the violence, the abuse, and now there's the pulling down of statues. More over just the past day or so. In Boston, the statue of explorer Christopher Columbus beheaded as punishment for Columbus discovering the passage to America, which is inherently a racist act, apparently. In Virginia, a statue of Columbus was not just vandalised, but burned and thrown into the lake by savages. Also in Virginia, one of these statue-destroying barbarians was nearly killed when the mob tore down a statue of Jefferson Davis, former president of the Confederacy. He's off in hospital, no word on his condition. And now more censoring. HBO has removed Gone with the Wind. Says it needs editing for its racist content. Netflix has just banned shows by the Mighty Boosh and League of Gentlemen for having blackface. And Stan scrapped episodes of Little Britain for the same reason.
Hello, baby. So nice to meet you. Don't forget, sugar, we have a honeymoon massage at 10.
Even Australia's own Chris Lilley has had 4 banned from Netflix, where he plays black or not quite white characters like Jen Okazaki, S. Mouse, and one of his most successful roles, Jonah, the Tongan schoolboy. Joining me is Daisy Cousens, a YouTube star with her own video channel and not yet banned. Daisy, so many shows suddenly banned. OK to watch last month, absolutely racist and banned this month. Good decision or not?
No, absolutely terrible decision, absolutely mad, crazy, silly, pointless decision, Andrew, because this does absolutely nothing meaningful at all to address racism, like not in the slightest. All it does is insulate these big corporations from the noisy minority of outrage-mongers who are apparently on the rampage at the moment. It's this weird kind of brand of woke capitalism. And aside from anything else, it's incredibly patronizing towards black people because it implies, one, that they all think and feel the same, which is, of course, totally untrue, and 2, it implies that somehow they're just so fragile and delicate racial minorities that they need, you know, to be saved from potentially offensive material. It's this sort of perverse kind of white saviour complex. It's really, as I said, it is quite racist. And aside from anything else, Andrew, I think the people who are supporting these decisions to ban these shows, either their critical thinking skills have just gone flying out the window, or they haven't actually watched the material in question. I mean, if you look at, say, the Little Britain blackface, I mean, it's quite, look, it's garish, absolutely. But the point of Little Britain generally is to parody stereotypes of British people and in turn critique them. So what it's actually doing is critiquing a racist stereotype there. It's not a minstrel show. And as for Gone with the Wind, again, look, it was a product of its time, for goodness sake. It was written and created and released in the 40s. And the thing is, though, if you actually watch the film or read the book and understand the story, that sort of, yes, it's told from the perspective of the Confederates, but the world is not really idealized or glorified. It's presented as vapid and indulgent and empty and ultimately pointless. So, you know, look, you can scream and shout about banning things all you want, but at least understand the material that you're trying to ban.
Yeah, well, look, I think that's absolutely right. I think it says something that DVD sales of Little Britain have gone through the roof since this decision to take them off the streaming services. Now, I have to say, some of the Little Britain sketches, I thought, yeah, I can see why some people might be offended there. I mean, I don't ban it, but I certainly am not a big fan of it. But I think there's a difference between that and the blackface of Chris Lilley's characters, where he really is exploring something. I mean, he's doing a range of characters. He's suddenly only supposed to do characters exactly like him. I think there's a big difference.
Oh, of course, there's a huge difference, Andrew. And look, the Chris Lilley stuff, let me tell you, really grinds my gears. Aside from the fact I'm a huge fan of Chris Lilley, I must have watched Summer Heights High like 4 times. I absolutely love it. But his characters, all of them, they're not designed to be parody or mockery. They're always very satirical. They're designed to be satirical representations of real life, and he succeeds very well. And certainly in the case of Jonah, again, if these people would actually consume the material, they would realize that what he gives with Jonah is an extremely thoughtful, meaningful, heartfelt portrayal of a lot of the issues that islander disadvantaged kids face at disadvantaged schools. I mean, you look at Jonah, his mother died when he was very young. He has a father who probably smacks him a bit too much. He's falling behind at school. He's isolated in his friendship group. You know, he has a lot of problems. He experiences racism at school, but then you see he thrives so wonderfully through breakdancing and through art. And there are so many disadvantaged kids, islander or otherwise, who have that story. And it's a wonderful sort of critical, very sympathetic view. There's nothing mocking about it, but you're telling me you just add a little bit of brown makeup to Chris Lilley and suddenly that wonderful storytelling and writing is offensive and deserved to be banned? I mean, how does that make any sense?
I don't think it makes any sense at all. I mean, and I find it funny that to make even less sense, Netflix is allowing Lilley's latest series where he plays a faintly coloured South African woman called Jana, and I think, you know, why is... I guess the fact that she's South African, well, and the fact that it's the latest series and it's making Netflix money, and I don't understand another thing. So it's bad for a white actor to play a coloured one, but not for a male to pretend to be a female.
Yes, look, that of course I think comes from the sort of historical baggage of blackface in the USA. I mean, certainly the minstrel shows were very cruel, stereotyping of African Americans, and were certainly designed to subjugate them. So I think that's certainly stuck, and people are extremely sensitive about it. I mean, Megyn Kelly, of course, the former Fox News commentator, was fired from her job at NBC for simply talking about someone dressing as Diana Ross in a not entirely disparaging way, and she apologized, and she was still fired. But again, it's this, you know, again, it's this historical sort of sensitivity.
Yeah,
and
but Daisy, that's what I don't get. It's a historical sensitivity in America, and all right, if you want to react in this over-the-top way, do it in America. It is not an historical sensitivity here, and this is just one more little thing that we're importing from America. This, oh my goodness me.